Welcome to Disturbingly Cheap Reviews. This week we step into the squared circle and take a look at the pro wrestler-packed River of Darkness. It stars Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle, Big Daddy Cool Kevin Nash, Psycho Sid Vicious, and my personal favorite, Mr. Blood Runs Cold himself, Glacier. You remember Glacier, don't you? Outside of the pro wrestlers, the most recognizable actor is the man who played the very first zombie in the original Night of the Living Dead. Anyway, chances are this collection of wrestlers, except probably Glacier, are the only reason people will pick up this film. So will they be surprised with a decent low-budget horror film? The plot is simple. 3 ginormously tall brothers are framed for rape and killed by angry townsfolk, led by a man named Hicks, which may or may not be a subtle wordplay about the town that this movie takes place in. 30 years later, they return for vengeance on the town. With these mysterious and gruesome murders popping up, the recently elected, but rather skeptical sheriff works to stop the destructive force wiping out his town. Well, it could have worked. Kurt Angle is still relatively new to the whole acting thing, and it shows. He's decent at best, obviously in the starring role due to his outside fame. Uniquely enough, Glacier seems to turn in the best performance as the ex-sheriff, perhaps due to his blood running cold. Personally, what surprised me was how little they gave Kevin Nash, probably the most experienced actor out of all the pro wrestlers. Meanwhile, Sid Vicious hams to the camera every time he's on it, and I guess that is kind of amusing. The big monstrous undead brothers work well in their scenes, even if their violence is hampered by the budget. A major detraction from this film is its need to tell instead of show. We are told stories of the brothers. We are told about the gang of angry people who chase them. We are told numerous things of which we are never shown. If I wanted to listen to all the plot points, I'd be reviewing audiobooks. One part in particular started out well and then kinda got ruined. Angle, our sheriff, goes into a restaurant for a cup of coffee after leaving a crime scene. There are a group of guys talking. They don't acknowledge him, even though he says hello to them. The worker doesn't come to ask what he needs, instead chatting with the group. So Angle sits there and looks over, a man alone in a crowded room, and then gets a call to go somewhere else. It's effective. It shows that he's the new sheriff and not everyone is happy with the choice. And then after he leaves, we instantly cut to the table where the men proceed to talk about how they don't like him. All that does is waste time telling me something you already showed me. Instead of moving on to the next thing, we're stuck on the established one. I know this probably sounds really nitpicky, but it's me. But I will move on. As you may guess, the movie's pacing is rather bland. Midway through, we're subjected to ghost-hunting college students who are a Shaggy and Scooby short of driving the Mystery Machine into town. However, while they do seem to be here for killer filler, the main female of the group is actually important to the story and the ending. And speaking of the ending, this movie does have one, even if it is a real letdown. It's almost as if they ran out of film, or the budget hit zero. I'll give this one a D+. It's a by-the-numbers horror film that doesn't color in all the numbers. There was potential, which garners the plus, but most of it was missed. The ending will most likely irritate the viewers, as it changes gears of the story at the drop of a hat. In all, I'd suggest picking it up only if, well, you're a wrestling fan who can stand bad movies, which I guess is this movie's target audience anyway. Make sure you're only renting this movie, and make sure you take it back on time. This is not the kind of film that's worth late charges. Now the spoilers. So like I said, this movie does a major shift at the very end. The start of the movie is the main blonde of the ghost hunters talking about how she got her friends killed, and then the movie starts up. But I just thought that was a random bit of setup for later. It turns out that it's pretty much that the movie is a flashback told by her, but using the sheriff for the majority of the story. It doesn't make sense to me either, but let's just go with it for now. The undead brothers kill off people who are introduced to us about 3 minutes before death, all the while leaving markings that read Hicks. So it's decided these killers are going to keep doing what they're doing until the main leader of that mob that killed them is sacrificed. Throughout the movie, Sheriff Angle is rather resistant to the idea of undead killers, while the rest of the town accepts it rather easily. So the ending, ex-Sheriff Glacier and a couple other townsfolk grab Hicks with the intention of sacrificing him, because their blood runs cold. I get the feeling there's supposed to be kind of an irony of Hicks being the one who helped incite people against the brothers, and now having it happen to him. Anyway, they throw him in a dinghy and shove him towards the killers, who happen to appear on a piece of land. Angle tries to stop them, but doesn't. Hicks prays as he floats, and suddenly he's shot in the head right before arriving to the monsters, who don't care as they chop him up. Off screen. Turns out the remaining ghost hunter, aka our opening monologue girl, is the one who pulled the trigger, and claims that he was her grandfather. We then instantly cut to her on a bench somewhere else. She mentions that the sheriff didn't arrest her because it was a mercy killing. But then she says it wasn't a mercy killing because Hicks raped her mother. The end. That's sudden. You don't see the monsters going away. Nobody stops them. I guess after killing Hicks, the brothers crossed over. I guess Angle just shrugged his arms to it. I guess the other guys didn't get in trouble for shoving a guy to his supernatural death. Of course, all of these are just guesses because we just hear her confessing to killing the guy before he could be killed out of revenge. Cue credits? That's really bizarre. The story felt like it was Angle's, but suddenly it wasn't. You know what? Wait a second. She kills him and says that she is his granddaughter. Then she says that she shot him because he raped her mother. Oh. Ew. Did you just throw incest at me at the last second of your movie? Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown. So until next time, blood runs cold.